Welcome to the Basic Bee podcast, a show for the wannabe SEO savvy service providers among us, for the coaches and consultants who dream of becoming known for their storytelling skills, not to mention the solopreneurs who straight up need to master all things social proof to increase sales. After a little reluctantly fully committing to this online world of business, I quickly realized I needed to get people to come to me. I needed to tell them I was here and how I could support them. I dove headfirst into social proof, which led me to SEO, which led me to storytelling. And now it gives me great joy to share what I've learned with other business owners so they skip the hard stuff and ease straight into sales. This podcast gives you expert insights, actionable takeaways, and casual convos with some of the online world's best and brightest experts and strategists. I think that's enough of an intro, so here we go. Welcome back to the Basic Bee podcast, and thanks for tuning in, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on any of the podcast players like Apple or Spotify, or I don't know the other ones. Thank you so much for being here. And you're in for a treat because we're talking with my bookkeeper, Kelly Marshall, and we're going to be talking about the Sacred Money Archetypes, which I can't stop smiling because I'm so excited for this topic. But before we dive in, I'm going to give you a quick intro to Kelly. As a certified money breakthrough business coach with over 20 years of experience in corporate accounting and bookkeeping, Kelly Marshall is the perfect person to talk to about how to make more money in your purpose-driven business and keep more of it in your pocket. She helps conscious business owners take charge of their finances, ease their money worries, grow healthy and profitable businesses, and ultimately gain the freedom to focus on what they truly love. Hi, Kelly.
Hi there. Thank you for having me.
Of course. I'm so excited to have you here, and I'm literally just like geeking out about this topic.
Well, you're about to see me or hear me geek out about it too. It's my favorite topic in the world. So
I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Before we get into that topic, I love asking guests this one question. It's a heavy hitter, but there are no wrong answers. So you have no reason to panic. Deep breath. You got this.
All right.
Okay. It is. Which do you believe is the most important for sales? SEO, storytelling, or social proof? See, I told you it wasn't that bad.
That's a good one. I thought it was going to be like, what animal do you identify? No, like a bad interview question. SEO,
storytelling, or social proof for sales?
I know talking to the SEO person, I should say SEO, but I really believe in storytelling.
I love all three. That's why I'm here.
Good.
Say a little bit more about that.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, it connects me so much with the person, like hearing the story, let's say it's their background, their experience, even the story of, social proof, like a client testimonial, hearing it in the story form, I think creates more connection. And you understand it. Like for me, I could try to memorize something and I could struggle with that, or I could hear it in a story. It's going to stick with me longer. So it's going to keep that person top of mind and have that, that memory point that I'll go back to, like when I need the solution they provide. Oh, I remember when so-and-so told me about that, so much more than some of the other things. And I don't tend to be a search on Google and find my solution. Like I need some kind of connection too. So yeah, that's where that answer comes from for me.
I love that. And it's actually reminding me in high school. I know we were learning about, I don't know even what time period to call this, but like Alexander the Great, we were learning about this in history. And it was around the same time that the movie came out with like Angelina Jolie and was it Colin? Oh gosh, I'm going to ruin the name. I don't know. But it was like that movie where it was the dramatization, the Hollywood version of it. And it was such a good movie to watch to bring the story to life, because especially with history, like I won't remember a year. I won't remember a name or a location, but you give me a story and I'll remember that this person was like this person's son and like this happened and that happened. And so that's what came to mind as you were saying that.
100%.
Yeah. All right. So we get to dive into the Sacred Money Archetypes. I'm also really stoked because before we hit record, we made sure that we found my results.
Yeah.
So I'm very thankful for that. But just to get us kicked off with this, what got you interested in the Sacred Money Archetypes? I mean, I don't typically think of a bookkeeper or any financial person as being as intuitive and connected to things as you are. And that was one thing that just like instantly, like I loved you.
Aw, thank you. Feeling was mutual, and our team loves you too. It really goes back to, for me, building this business in this version. was never going to be just about the bookkeeping. Like I had, to make this not too long a story, I had two kind of parallels in my life where I had this corporate career, bookkeeping, accounting, compliance. And then I had this other part where I was, an artist and doing Reiki healing and energy work and all this other stuff on the other side. I loved them both, but it felt like one was very much a career and one was very much fun, kind of a thing, passion, whatever. And I actually had an opportunity to work at a wellness center where I did their books and did some coaching. And I think that was where the two kind of came together a little bit. And so I also knew in that experience, I didn't want to be working for anybody else. So as I was working there, not wanting to work for somebody else, and knew I wanted to kind of create my business. And I actually already had a part-time bookkeeping business since 2004. And so this was 2018. I knew I didn't want to just do what I was doing over there. I needed it to have the connection. And I really wanted to be having conversations with people that I loved and wanted to have conversations for. So I knew it was going to be kind of, at that time, I thought health and wellness. It turns out it's conscious entrepreneurs, purpose-driven people in general. And I also knew that they needed bookkeeping as a tool that they didn't have. It was a skill set that I had. They finally accepted that, and that I could help the people I cared about and I was passionate about with the thing that I've developed the skill set for. And Sacred Money Archetypes was just some of the work I discovered early on that was like a missing gap for people. Like my people, my passion-driven people are often not money-driven. They know they can do really well with money, but they're not necessarily money-driven. And if anything, they're a little sometimes scared of it, or it feels like something they're not going to be good at. But they also have this inner knowing that they have the ability and the potential to do well and to make more money. And so there was this gap of understanding who they are, what their work is, this potential they saw, the vision they had, and then like how to get there. And so Sacred Money Archetypes are really a big part of that.
One thing is like, I'm totally your person because I've got my background in massage therapy, and I still remember being in massage school. And so many of us were like, oh, we're going to charge like reasonable rates and we want to be able to help as many people as possible. And the phrase that was coming to mind as you were talking about like your people was money avoidant. Really, up until last year, I've been like so freaking money avoidant because there was a lot wrapped up in that. And last year, you saw just from my numbers that there was a lot of healing that happened, not a ton of money making, but there was a lot of healing that happened for me. And what was it, like October, November? You saw just from my numbers, not even from a conversation.
Yeah.
You were like, oh yeah, I could like tell that there was a shift happening. I was like, what? Really? You knew that?
And I guess like it is kind of just that intuitive part is inherent in me. And what the Sacred Money Archetypes did was give me a language to communicate a piece of that. So I guess like what was I looking for them for? That was really it. Like it also serves as a tool that other people can use then, it doesn't have to rely on having a conversation with me and my intuition. It's a tool that they can use to really understand their strengths and weaknesses with money. So that was a good segue into that.
That was beautiful. Okay. Yeah. Tell us about the archetypes. Let's just like go geek out.
So I will first say that this was a body of work created by Kendall Summerhawk. There are other people certified in it. In fact, Denise Duffield-Thomas, this is the archetype work that she uses as well. If anybody's heard of any of them, but it's just folded so well into my work. And what it is, we understand archetypes. Probably a lot of us geek out on assessments, talking about geeking out. And this is an archetype assessment where we're looking to identify patterns that you have with money. I mean, archetype really is just a way to demonstrate those patterns in a way that we all understand. Like you hear maternal, you hear ruler, you hear, I'm trying to think of some that aren't just the Sacred Money Archetypes, but you hear certain terms like that. And you already inherently know certain things about that person and yourself. So with these archetypes, if you take this assessment that takes like 8 to 10 minutes, it uses kind of a way to, or it's assessing your archetypes. There's 8 in total, and it's returning to you your top 3. The truth is we all have versions of all of these 8 archetypes, which we'll go through. But it's really the top 3 that every money opportunity that comes our way is filtered through those top 3, which is why, like, if you think about it in a relationship, maybe a romantic relationship and you're considering buying a house, or in a business relationship and you're looking at different investments, or different options, two people in any money conversation are going to filter that opportunity differently according to their nature, their pattern of making money decisions, their strengths and weaknesses. And so if you become aware of your weaknesses, you're conscious of them, you can maybe stop behaviors that are not in support of what you want. And if you become aware of your strengths, you can lean into those more so that you're just more aligned with what is right for you in making your money decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll go into them. I just want to give a quick example of what that might look like. So
Yeah.
somebody who, you and I are both nurturers. I'll use a lot of those examples later. So I'm going to try to pick a different one. Somebody we'll talk about an accumulator. Like they're somebody that really loves to usually save their money. They really value security. And so they could have a lot of money in the bank and an opportunity comes their way. And it could be an opportunity that's going to double, triple some of their money, or it could be a really great investment where they're going to lean into that security and might be fearful of that decision to invest. And it might be the thing that could be done very safely and securely for them. But if their challenge is triggered, they're going to go into kind of a fear place with it and just not be able to make that decision. Versus one of the other archetypes might just be able to jump at it and they're able to double their money, or whatever the case may be. So It's just how we're all different, how we're wired, and helps us understand that so we can make better aligned decisions.
Yeah. And even like with you giving the accumulator example, I would bet money, that my boyfriend is an accumulator.
Yeah.
And even just hearing you say that and being reacquainted with this work, it's a good reminder that like he's coming into a decision with one set of just, conversations that are going on in his head. I've got a different set of conversations going on in my head.
Yep.
So it is really helpful to gain awareness of yourself. But if you're in a partnership or if you're considering money things with someone else, it's just helpful to have that tool. So it was a good example.
Yeah. And if you think about that for him, if you can speak to someone why you feel it's a real safe decision, or, if you kind of can analyze that a little bit for him to give him some comfort around that decision, he's going to receive that much differently than, if you don't prepare it that way. So it also can really support those conversations in a beautiful way.
Yeah, I could see that. Oh, that was a good example.
Cool. Can I just talk through the various types? And
I would love that.
Keep me on time because I can go on and on and on about these.
I'll be over here a little like,
And I would say for somebody that wants to follow along with this, I have a free assessment out there. If they wanted to kind of even pause here and go take that assessment and then come back and listen for their top 3. Can I share that right now?
Absolutely. Yeah. You say it and then I'll make sure that it's linked in all the places.
Okay, great. So it's on my website. It's www.terracarefinancial.com/SMA. It's just a quick 10-minute assessment. I would encourage you to try to take it on a computer versus a phone because we've had a few where the phone seems to error out when they go to submit it. But yeah, so that's where you can find the assessment. And then what you'll want to pay attention to in this review, because I'm going to throw a lot of information out there, is really listen. It's your top 3, but even if you just pay attention to your top archetype, because that's the one that's influencing our decisions the most. And so if you can start to think, how is that showing up in my decisions? And what would I like a little differently? Then this work can become a tool for you.
I love that. I'm so excited.
Okay, good. All right. So I'm going to kick us off with ruler.
Okay.
So the rulers are just that natural leader. They've got that inner fire and drive that really makes them unstoppable. They're courageous. They're visionary. They're determined. They have that ability. One of the gifts that they have is creating an empire where everyone thrives. So it's really important for them to create, if they're maybe an entrepreneur with a team, like it's really important to them that everybody's got an important role and they're thriving in their role. It's just natural for them. They love coming up with new ideas and being decisive. My rulers are so decisive and get more done quickly. Like I'm in awe of them. The challenges for the rulers is they don't pause and indulge enough in life. They're driven, always chasing the next ambition. They never feel like there's enough money. And so they can, burn out. They can really forget to celebrate the accomplishments of what they're creating. And so what's the point? It just becomes about the next achievement. And they'll find that when they look back through their life, they can see places where they did that. And then they really lost the point of it all. So the rulers, I'm always reminding them to have fun, go play, and that allows them to then enjoy the prosperity of what they're creating.
Hey, fellow podcaster, I see you out here wanting to do more with SEO, but not even knowing where to begin or what to do. Oh, and yeah, there are loads of episodes you should be blogging about, but how? I saw so many conversations just like this happening around me, and one day I just thought, I'm a podcaster, I'm an SEO show notes writer, I should make a resource. So I did. And now you can grab the SEO podcast show note and blog post templates. You get everything you need to go from podcast idea to SEO optimized podcast show note to SEOified blog post, which means you've got 2 long-form content pieces out here marketing for you 24/7. I even included video training so you know exactly what goes where and how to incorporate SEO for your podcast ASAP. Click the link in the show notes and grab your templates today. Yeah, because it's kind of sad if you're working and you're doing all this stuff and you're building all these things, but you're not taking the time to enjoy it.
Yeah. And it happens a lot, especially with entrepreneurship, as we know.
Yeah. I'm just as guilty. That is not my top one, but I am just as guilty.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, right. Go live life.
Yeah. There's a point to all this. We're doing this for freedom, right? Not just more work. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Second one is accumulator. I mentioned that in our example earlier. So the accumulators typically live below their means. I'll talk about how sometimes these things go in opposition, so that's not always the case. They're highly attentive to managing their money. They love to save just for the sake of being saving and are naturally frugal. They can be secretive with money or even judge others for the way that they handle money. Their strengths are that they're conscientious and trustworthy, very disciplined. We talked about the gifts of saving easily, creating financial independence, being financially responsible. The challenges really come in that secrecy. I find with accumulators that any stress in their life goes to a thing that they like to control. So we're talking about money. By the way, these things apply to other areas of in our life. You can just substitute money for any other
or
area.
anything else. It's like, yep.
Yeah. But when they have stress in some areas, like maybe they're going to really secure their money, or they're going to go to a place where they're really confident and get really controlling about it to a point where it's kind of uncomfortable for themselves or other people. And they can kind of not know when enough's enough. Like, when is there enough in the bank? When is there, you're not waiting for the sky to fall, kind of a thing. So they really have to watch that. The other thing I see is when accumulators are matched with another, like if you're your top 3, one of them's accumulator, but another one is one where they like to spend money or take risks. Accumulator has this way of, because they've got the judgment piece, you'll find yourself in conflict a lot and judging yourself for other things. So I'll talk about that when we get to another one. When we get to Maverick, remind me to bring that accumulator piece up, because it's a good one to show the example on.
Okay. I would bet that one's in Daniel's top 3, because he and I both do that, where it's like, what's something we can actually control, especially with the way the last few years have gone. Like, we look for that in slightly different places. And even the thing you said where I kind of was like chuckling inside was looking for the sky to fall. Like, we're waiting for the other shoe to drop. And it's like, he and I both do that.
Yeah. So, that's what you're searching for. That's what you're magnetizing to. You're kind of going into that fear place.
Right.
And attracting more of that in, or saying no to opportunities that could be really great for you. But because you're in that fear place, you say no to it.
Yeah.
That can be an issue.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Ugh. This stuff is so cool. All right. Who's up next?
I love it. Well, we'll go to one that's almost an opposite of accumulator, and it's the connector. And you have that as your second one. I hope you're okay with me sharing that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Use me as an example.
Okay, good. I attract a lot of connectors because the connectors are the ones that don't really want to pay attention to the money. They have such faith, which is a really good piece. And that's the faith in that money is always available to them, can keep them, financially free of stress. But they also have this ability to go into a judgment place with that, or they kind of feel like if you're, especially as a business builder, you really can't ignore it totally and build your business.
Yes, I can. No, it didn't work. Don't do it.
But it's like this empowerment piece, like it creates a disempowerment with money if you're like that money avoidance piece that you were talking about. So the connector, the more comfortable they get with the money, the more that they understand it, and look at it and open all the envelopes that come or log into their accounts. Or I had one of my clients where she was sweating before she had to give me passwords because she knew I was going to see some credit card debt or something out there. And she was in such
Yeah.
shame about it because she likes to avoid it. And it was making her sweat. And then like once she faced that and we did that, I was like, oh, it's not really that bad. And we faced,
Yeah.
we looked at those things and, reframed it a little bit. And it was not that big of a deal. And so now all of a sudden she's in a much more empowered place with money, and able to make decisions and just release all that shame because it doesn't serve us. So that's the thing with connectors on the negative side. The positive is that connectors are natural relationship makers. People love to do business with them again and again and again and again because they get such a connection. You're so able to rely on them and to just trust them. So it builds a really good business when people are happy to come back to you and do business again. So that can be a really powerful, empowering strength to hold on to.
Yeah, I like the use of the word empowering because that's definitely what I felt from, frankly, being extremely money avoidant. I didn't
Yeah.
want to look at my accounts because I was like, oh my gosh, it's going to be so terrible. To your point, having someone like you in my world where you're like, oh no, this is actually, these things are going great. And it's like, oh really? And then I'm like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, because you're seeing other accounts, you can give me that reassurance
Yeah.
and remind me that, oh, the story is only that bad because it's the level of the storytelling that I'm doing in my head.
Yeah.
But it is actually extremely empowering to finally be looking at my accounts and to have that knowledge and to be able to make really smart decisions moving
Yeah.
forward. So I love that word.
Good. And imagine you had to, like, you're still in the avoidance and you're positioned for the growth that you're positioned for. There
Mm-hmm.
might be like, what am I going to do? And how am I going to handle that? And what,
Yeah.
you put this piece in place to be ready for that growth. And that's, I think, a piece that is really important for people is that they have that in place, a safe place where they can get empowered around it. And
Yeah.
that doesn't have to hold them back.
I love that.
Cool. Well, here's another one that's going to be a favorite. And I guarantee a lot of your people in your audience, they'll fall in this category. And this is alchemist.
Mm-hmm.
Alchemists are one of my favorites. I've got it somewhere. I think it's my fourth, but alchemists are the ones that like just do the service of their heart, love what they do, love to make a difference in the world. They just really don't like to attach money to it. Like that can be a little bit
True.
tricky.
Can confirm.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a little bit of a love-hate relationship with money. And
Mm-hmm.
a couple things on that with alchemists. So this is the place where I feel like the vision for the potential you have comes in because as an alchemist, you see what's possible. You're a little bit idealistic in a strength way. You see transformation possible for other people, but that includes you. So this is the thing that helps you see the potential that you have. But because you have this love-hate for attaching money to the services of your heart,
Yeah.
you're not driven by money in that way. Like it kind of can feel a little gross. So what I always encourage alchemists to do is to really connect to the impact they're having, to really connect to the service that they're providing, and also understand that that's an energy exchange that you're giving. So if you underprice your services, then over deliver, your energy exchange is off. And alchemists are sensitive to that.
Mm-hmm.
So by recognizing the energy exchange and acknowledging that, and then remembering that the better they do in the world, the more they can help others, they can get past that love hate and really fulfill that potential that they envision for themselves.
Yeah.
Because it's within them to do it.
Yeah. That's my third. And yes, like I'm over here nodding a lot because, yeah, totally. And like I said, with being in massage school, it was like, I'm not doing this for the money. I'm doing this because I want to help people. But when you talked about that energy exchange being off, that's what I really started to notice. And I was like, I'm over here, I'm over delivering, I'm doing the job, but
Yeah.
I'm not even valuing myself in my work. Right. So that was just like an off point and a point of imbalance.
Yeah. But it's one that's pretty quick to tweak.
Yeah.
And then it's like, yeah. I think I see it in your other work too. Like you look at somebody's site, let's say, you see all the things that are possible to change that. And then like you're 3 steps down thinking what that can mean for their business.
Yeah.
That's your alchemist too coming into play. So it's really a strength in your work as well. Mm-hmm. Like it's not just with money. It's a really beautiful strength that you offer people. So kind of like your connector, which is about relationships, then you help them see what's possible for themselves.
Yeah.
It's powerful.
Oh, that's cool. But you're right though, because I said this earlier today. It's been a very full day of podcast interviews. And I said this in an earlier interview where it was, I didn't even make the to-do list. I was like over in a corner collecting dust. Like, yeah, sure, I'll get to you at some point. that feels very true with even with what you're saying of how I do that for my clients of like, if you do this, blah, 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 blah is going to happen and you'll get all these results and that's going to give you the impact that you want and all these things. And then it's like, oh yeah, Brittany, you could do that for yourself too.
Yeah,
Like we kind of need to do that like over here.
for sure. Yeah. I think a lot of us are guilty of that too at times. We need to take our own medicine.
At least I'm
Yeah.
not alone. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Good. Cool. And like I said, I bet a lot of your people have that.
I'm sure.
So Maverick is my second. So I'm nurturer, Maverick, romantic. And remind me to talk about accumulator with this one. So Maverick, you'll find it in a lot of entrepreneurs, but not everybody. Mavericks are the ones that aren't afraid to take the big risk, to take the leap. They love the complexity of money stuff and talking about it, thinking about the like big deals. And it's very exciting. And it's that ability to take that risk. They can be really good at paying attention to numbers, calculating the complexity of things and calculating that risk. But they're more excited about the risk oftentimes than the tried and true. Like we want the big win. We want those things. And I feel this in my business. I've supported this really well by having the bread and butter, the recurring income of the bookkeeper. But I consciously have to intentionally keep that in because my Maverick just wants to do all the other exciting things. And so that's really the empowering piece for Maverick is if you can find the bread and butter type, maybe not as exciting part of your business that takes care of everything, then you can go and play with everything else and really know that your foundation is set and taken care of. Otherwise, they can find themselves in these ups and downs. Like the Mavericks could be the people that are bankrupted and then millionaires. They really have to take care of that foundation so that that's all set and stable and then play with the rest of it. So that would be my little tip for the Mavericks.
I like that. So it's your second and it's my seventh.
Okay.
So, and that makes a lot of sense for me because I grew up and I was seeing both in my family and outside of my family, people starting businesses and then just seeing them tank and then like, oh, I'm going to start another one and tank. And so for me, I never, ever, ever, ever pictured that I would be running a business, let alone starting two, because it looked like such an unstable thing from what I was seeing from my vantage point. So it's very cool to have done it not only once successfully, but done it twice successfully and to see it finally, like you said, just hit this turning point and like having this upward trajectory. Yeah, but the risk thing, I was on a call actually recently and we were talking about having a backup plan. When I started my massage practice, I didn't just have one backup plan. I think I had 3 backup plans. I had a backup plan for my backup plan for my backup plan.
You might be a little risk adverse at that point. Yeah. A little bit. Yeah. And I'm, I guess, a little more conservative than a lot of Mavericks. A lot of the Mavericks I see, it's like they burn the bridge as they take the leap into entrepreneurship. And I wasn't quite like that, but I'm not afraid to take the leap either. And I think that's that balance, Maybe it's just the accounting background that kept me from burning the bridge as I left.
Totally. It could be. Yeah. I don't want to forget. You wanted to mention accumulator. Yeah.
So I have a few clients that have Maverick and accumulator in their top 3. And so one loves risk and one's scared to death of it. And I can see it in every decision that they make. And so we've really had to kind of lean into the strengths of both, like make sure that they have that strong, stable foundation. Like I talked about, make sure that they do have some things set up, some reserves set up, but then go take the risk and not let their accumulator tell them, I need more and I need more and I need more before I can do anything. It's the balancing of those two things because that accumulator can also keep them safe. Like I said, I tricked myself into it a little bit, having this bread and butter that kind of, takes care of everything. But that's how I'm able to have then sustainability and longevity and have the success I want. That's what my Maverick accumulators need too, because otherwise they're just nervous systems all over the place and they'll combust. It just doesn't work. So they have to balance those two things. And a big part of it is like they sit in judgment of themselves and that doesn't really serve them. It's not really helping them, get to wherever they want to go.
It really doesn't. And even though that's my 4th, like there's a lot that I resonate with, even just when you were talking about like, I need more, I need more, I need more. I've done that with like courses, online trainings. It's part of the reason why I love doing keyword research. And it's a huge reason why I invite people to put a timer on it because you don't need to spend 3 hours doing keyword research. You can do it in 30 minutes or less. So yeah, I can see how that plays out in other ways other than just money.
Yeah. I'm sorry to say it applies to everything. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's helpful.
Yeah. It's good to know. It's good
Yeah,
to
it
know.
is. It is.
So the next one we have is celebrity.
Mhm.
Celebrities are often, there's an exception to this, but they're often like the charismatic personality. They're a magnet for attracting people to them and attracting amazing people and amazing experiences. They're also really good at lifting other people up into the spotlight. Like that's a gift that they have, which really, if they understand that that's a gift, then they can monetize that too.
Mm.
One thing that I've noticed with celebrities is they often don't realize it yet. Like it's like the star power is kind of hidden. They're maybe like more subtle about it. But like once they kind of uncover this and they can uncover it in the assessment, but if they haven't really shined in a spotlight, once they've uncovered this star power and then just really lean into it, the sky's the limit. You know, like people are going to resonate with it. They're going to be magnetized to it. They're going to pay them just to be in their energy. You know, it's just part of their gift. They're great leaders. They help other people stand out and they stand out themselves. What happens with celebrity on the challenge side is they'll spend for status. They can sometimes compulse, meaning they'll have to have the, you know, the Stanley with the straws. No, I'm just kidding. My daughter has Stanley. But they have to have all the things. They have to, usually more expensive than that. They have to have the best car. They'll have to buy dinner for everybody. Like it's a lot of spending for show and status. And what that really comes from is like a way to make up for how they're feeling inside. Like they can substitute instead of spending for things that we really don't value. They can get kind of that accolades from home, or they can even for themselves, like really recognize their own self-love and pay attention to it because the spending compulsively outside their means comes to fill that gap for them. So they can address it by really supporting themselves, leaning into that self-care and self-love, and all of those pieces can really support the celebrity.
That makes a lot of sense.
Support all of us, but especially the celebrity.
Right. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. And I was with you until you got to the challenge. And then I was like, oh, I don't overspend in that way. But the shining a light on people and that kind of thing. But for me, like, just for reference, I'm looking in celebrities number 8. It's my very last one. But I've got the connector.
Yeah.
So I've still got the like people connection thing going on.
And that's where that piece comes up for you more so than the status piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that is really insightful. We still have somebody left, right? Oh, we've got 2 left.
We have nurture. That's us. That's our top. Oh, and I'll watch my time.
You're good.
So nurturers is similar to connector in the way that like people love to receive service from us because we're very giving, very devoted, very reliable. If somebody's in need, we want to help out. My husband often teases me. I'll say situation comes out. He goes, "Oh, did you put your cape on?" That's how he brings me into recognition that I'm going into my nurture. The trouble with nurturers is we can give in spite of ourselves. So if we over deliver, it's back to that energy piece again, slightly different than the alchemist, but the result is the same. You over deliver, the energy exchange is off. And nurturers, they don't realize it when they're don't realize it when we're doing, but we do kind of have an expectation like, oh, if I do this, I'll get recognized for this, or if I do this, whatever. And if we don't get the thing that we never told anybody we wanted, maybe didn't even realize we wanted it ourselves, it turns into a little bit of resentment or can lead to martyrdom. I've done this in jobs in the past. And so it was really important for me not to do that in my business. I do occasionally have to check myself, but that's where I have contracts in place and all those things to, again, protect myself. And I can lean on those because I can't lean on my own boundaries too well. I do work on that. It's much easier to say, well, it's not in the scope of what we agreed to, than be like, back off. I don't do that or whatever.
I don't want to.
I need a little assistance from some of those things. So that's the key. But like even in family, I don't have a contract with my daughter, but I sometimes have to set the boundary of like, I'm doing this right now. I'm on a call, you know, if you need me, you know, set up some expectations so that she knows how to approach me. Cause that's the thing with boundaries that are hard for nurturers. It's like, it's challenging for us to set them. But when we do that for others, it's actually a gift because they can feel clean in the energy exchange. They know how to approach us in a way that's what we want. And so if we can look at boundaries in that way and not see it as a limitation to our giving or rude or whatever other perception we might have, then we're really empowering the whole relationship. And that's really a powerful place to be. And with money, now I was not a person that gave out a lot of money and gave out a lot of time, but some other nurturers will give their money. And, you know, that's another place where they can set up that boundary because nurturers are often good with their money too. They I don't know if that comes from them giving amazing value.
Mm-hmm.
They're able to make good money, but they can overgive on that one too. And so it's a matter of watching your boundaries, making sure you're really clean on it, giving yourself a little space before you say yes. That's a big one. Giving yourself a little pause before you agree to it.
That's a good one. Yeah, just take a beat for yourself. That's been
Yep.
huge for me. That's been really a game changer with a
Yeah.
variety of things. I was the not so great with the money, the one who was giving it away, because
Mm.
there's two things I remember both from being in school, and I'm sure I could like dive into like why I think this is, but two different instances. Once was in seventh grade. I wanted to get every single classmate, my entire seventh grade class, like Christmas presents. So I remember
Mm-hmm.
creating these tiny little bags. I had some stuff for the girls, some stuff for the boys, but I took my mom out, for hours. We were shopping, and we were both like, I'm sure she's a nurturer too. We were both like geeking out on like all the
Yeah.
stuff we could get and making these things. And it just made me really happy. And then to see someone else's, expression and like they got it and they were grateful. And I can see how I probably did want some accolades for that. And then when I was in high school, I remember draining my spending account several times
Mm-hmm.
because my parents had us create these little jars. But I remember draining my spending account a lot because we had this vending machine. And so often, like my friends would just want something and they wouldn't have cash. And I'm like, here you go. So,
Yeah.
you do that enough times throughout the week and your money's gone. But
Yeah.
it did make me happy to just be able to help someone in that moment, but it wasn't helping me long term.
No. So it's a little bit of balancing those things.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of you want to be in a position where you can give because that's a value you have,
Yeah.
but also not ever giving in spite of yourself,
Yeah.
Yeah, or too far where it's put you in a situation.
For sure. Yeah. Boundaries with that one. Whew, that was a good one.
Boundaries are huge. Yeah. So here's one you don't have. I'm curious. I was focused on your top three. Where does romantic fall for you?
I've got it on 6. It's my
Okay.
6th. Yeah.
So on the lower end for you. So
Mm-hmm.
romantic is my third. And I can definitely feel this one. So romantics, we love to live in the moment. We often love spending on life's enjoyments, and money's not always the top thing with that. It's kind of like, I deserve it. I want it. I can have it. Very much about luxury, abundance, pleasure seeking. And there's a lot of gifts in that. You believe that there'll always be more. You can be generous with others. The generosity piece comes in there, enjoying things that money can buy. But the challenges are it can lead to extra spending that's not really aligned in the moment. Like I can be really guilty of those impulse purchases at the end of the
Yeah.
register or whatever. And it's like, I didn't even want that. Like, so I have to really watch that and check in that like spending is in alignment with what I want.
Mm-hmm.
They can also tend to ignore finances, and money spending there can mask that feeling of feeling unloved or unappreciated.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another one where like really focusing on that piece, finding that love and stuff from other sources versus buying something that doesn't really align with your values. And so in the end doesn't serve you,
Mm-hmm.
that's a better substitute for that. The thing with romantic that I also want to say is this is another one where I've chosen to support myself with a system where I set aside money. So money comes into the business and it automatically gets allocated. I use profit first, automatically gets
Right.
allocated. And I have to do that because if I didn't do that, I would spend it all. So it gets allocated into the places. And I respect that once it's allocated because I don't feel the impact of it moving. If I felt that first, it would feel like a sacrifice and I'd go into the I deserve it's and, and then take that money. So you can see, like I've set up systems because I understand these weaknesses. I've set up systems that
Mm-hmm.
help me support that. And then I can lean into the strengths and help my clients be open to abundance or, provide really great value with that nurture without over giving and over delivering. So that's where the understanding yourself really well allows you to set up those systems or the little tricks or hacks that support your challenges and lean into your strengths.
Oh man, I love that so much. I don't even know where to go from there because I'm like, you gave us so much good stuff. You pointed out the positives and then some of the challenges. You gave some really great tips. So remind me again of your 1, 2, and 3.
I'm nurturer, maverick, romantic.
Okay. And I'm nurturer, connector, and alchemist. For anyone listening, I love these personality assessments.
Yeah.
So please, if you feel like sharing, like definitely share and then
Yeah.
tag us. All the links will be below and everything. Or if you feel like sharing privately in a DM or something, that would be amazing. Because
Yeah.
I always love knowing, like, especially if it's like the INFJ or the manifesting generator, I just like knowing who else is out there because we're not alone and we're not
Right.
in this thing solo. We have other people that get us or can support us in different ways. Okay, is there anything else that you feel like you want to feel called to share or anything like that, just to wrap us up?
I guess I'll give a little tool coming out of that. So take the assessment, get your top 3, but really listen for your top 1 in what we shared. And then think about, like, how is that archetype, my number 1 archetype, impacting me in the different areas of my business? How's it showing up with my pricing? How's it showing up with my sales? How's it showing up with how I express myself online? How's it showing up with me hiring help or support or outsourcing something? You know, all the things, and think about how that's impacting you. And then think, well, what would I like instead? You know, so for my nurture, if I felt like I was giving away too much time, I'd want to really value my time and showcase my value in a way that my clients value my time. You know, that can be a little tweak because I do give valuable information. So I want it to be properly valued, you know? And so if you did that exercise in a few areas of your business, you might uncover a gap for yourself that you can transition into what you really want instead.
That's a good one. And I can't hype you up enough. Like, you fell into my world at the perfect time, and it's been so amazing to work with you. And even like I was mentioning, I was referencing our kind of like 2023 wrap up call. That was really cool to sit with you after a full year of working together and to be like, oh, this is how things went. Oh, hey, look, income wasn't as bad as you thought it was going to be. It's actually like way better than I thought it thought it actually was, because last year felt really rough. But I'm so grateful that I had you as a resource in my world, because it was such a rough year. And I was like, Kelly, how are we doing? Kelly, how about this? Are you accepting clients? I'll ask that in case anyone listening is like, you sound amazing. You are.
Yeah, we have a free strategy session that they can book.
Yeah, and I took her up on it. Sometimes I feel bad taking people up on this free strategy sessions. Don't feel bad. Go call Kelly.
That's right.
It was a really great call. And this assessment was really eye-opening and very helpful. And I can't recommend it enough. So it's definitely going to be linked below. Go take it. Like you said, 8 to 10 minutes-ish.
Yeah.
It was a really insightful tool.
And as a shameless plug, you and I haven't done a lot with this, but I will also take this and use this body of work with coaching. So the bookkeeping is definitely a tool we use. But if somebody's not ready for that or doesn't need that, really wants to learn more, explore these assessments more, there's also a body of work that I can share with that.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. So on that note, how and where can people connect with you, and what else do you want to point them to?
Probably my 2 main places I hang out is Instagram, and that's at kellymarshall.8, I think it is, but you'll put that in the thing. And then I have a Facebook group, and it's called the Prosperous and Profitable Conscious Entrepreneurs. And so that's another place we can hang out, and they can find me there. They can ask me questions. It's very like-minded there. It's a bunch of conscious, purpose-driven people. So it's a great place to meet other people too.
Yeah.
In that Facebook group.
I got to make sure I'm in that Facebook group, because I don't know if I am. I'm like, oh, you have a Facebook group.
It's going to come to life a little more this year. Last year I didn't focus on it as much, and I miss it. And it's a great place for connection. So yeah, get in there, because we're going to do some fun stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, that's amazing. Thank you for being here and for sharing all of this. I loved it. I can geek out on all of this stuff. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome. My pleasure. I'll talk about this any day you want to.
Next Tuesday. Okay. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you click the links below. Go say hi to Kelly. Take this quiz for sure. Even if you don't feel like sharing your results, go take this quiz, because it's a really, really helpful tool. And I will catch you next time. That was really something, wasn't it? Let that really sink in and guide you toward being the answer to even more Googled questions. Thanks so much for joining me this episode. You are the reason this show exists, and that it keeps growing. You know, thanks to all those follows and reviews. If you know someone who could benefit from what was shared, send it to them. We don't do shy around here. If you thought of clarifying or follow-up questions while listening, you know what to do. Say hi on Instagram. Check the show notes for all the things that were mentioned, and I'll talk to you soon, friend. Okay, you get it. You know SEO is important, but no, you're not interested in learning another skill. Who has the time? But who are you supposed to trust with the task of getting SEO to work for you? Someone who won't ghost you mid-project or treat you like a dum-dum lollipop. Someone who actually wants to empower you and your team with all things SEO. Hi, yes, it's me, Brittany, and you are the person I created the SEO packet for. You're curious, you want to understand this thing better, but like only a little bit. You don't actually want to do the doing. This way, you get the key SEO stuff super fast, and you get support throughout and beyond the project. No more letting Google gift you the wrong SEO strategy. Time to put the right words in the right places and get found online by the right people. Find all the info you need below.